You know what, Will? We are live. We're live on the Mindstate Marketing Hour. We're a little bit mobile, a little bit different. We're dancing today. Usually we watch Will dance, but guess who's dancing? That's right, it's Steve. Steve's dancing as we're coming into this live stream. Welcome, everybody. It's the Mindstate Marketing Hour, where we get to hang out with Will every Thursday and talk about how to use science to connect better with our clients based on his book, The Minds Marketing to Mind States. This is the Mind State, but it's the book with a new look.
Right.
So I'm going to run my little banner here. Will Leach, he's the author of the Marketing to Mind States, and today's topic is culture is critical for your brand and your business. Will, welcome back. It's cold out there.
It is. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's a little cold out here in Dallas today. A lot of ice. In fact, I was on a call yesterday where we were colder than New Jersey by a far bit, like 20 or 30 degrees. So it's a crazy day in Dallas, but good to be here with you. Good to be here with the people that are listening. And today, yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about authenticity and bringing it to your culture and helps you grow not only your staff, but it helps you grow your business as well.
Well, excellent. I was looking forward to this. I'm mobile myself. Actually, I'm in Big D in Big Dallas. Drove yesterday, brought my mom to Springtown to visit her friends there, and it was a bit of a drive.
I bet. How no accident? Did you see many accidents on your way in, or no?
You know, I saw the accidents were happening on the bridges where, bridges freeze over first. And I think people are like surprised. Whoa, it's slippery. And then they ended up over on the side facing the other direction.
Yeah, we don't know what we're doing here in driving in ice in Texas, but I'm going to say most people don't either. So yeah, hopefully it's going to melt here next couple of hours. Well, day at least, but be careful on the ride back, man. Be careful.
Will do. I was hoping to make it over to the Will Leach household to do the show, but let's be safe and do the show instead of from a nice warm place instead of in a banged up vehicle. Mm-hmm. So, Will, today we want to talk about culture. Where's this topic coming from? Give us a backstory. Why?
Yep. It's again, we've been seeing more and more about this, the mass exodus of people, or, all these people that are leaving companies to go find either their true selves themselves, or to find a company that better fits with, their values. And employees have a lot of leverage. And right now, I was actually talking to a company 3 days ago about this, and they just brought it up as being one of the most important things as a CMO she's facing, which is funny because as CMOs, I don't hear CMOs talk a lot about the importance of bringing in talent. And no, they don't. I take that back. They say it's very important, but they've never had to struggle like they are right now. And what she was telling me was that salary and benefits, if you're not giving, at least a minimum 10% pay raise to somebody, you're not even going to get in the door. But really more and more now, it's about what things outside of salary and benefits are you going to bring these new people, so that they'll come to your organization. And so I went off that meeting. It was a breakfast meeting with a CMO of a really, really large restaurant chain. And then from there, I had a conversation with, I know, these people, the group at Scribe Media, and they both we worked with Scribe on our books. And it dawned on me, if you know anything about them, and I know you do, it seems like everyone loves it there. They win these awards that people like, they love that company. And I don't think it's because they get great benefits. It's kind of in a middle stage startup round. But what it is that CMO, that CEO, there's something about the culture at Scribe that makes people want to go work for them. And I don't think they're having. In fact, I talked to somebody over there, and they said they've only lost like 2 or 3 people the past year, which is unheard of right now. Why? It's probably because of that culture. So 2 conversations. Either way, there is this kind of desire for you and your culture to be more than just a brand and the money and the benefits you're going to give. So let's talk a little bit about why just being authentic as a CEO, as a business owner, can bring in top talent, but also it helps you increase your business as well.
Do you think, how's my sound?
You sound great.
Okay, great. So do you think that because of the events that have happened the past couple of years that people are kind of asking themselves what's really important with in their life. It used to be job and this and that, but I think I'm just curious, are you thinking that certain events, maybe they lost a loved one, maybe
That's right.
things have changed that they want to drill down?
I do. I think that's a big part of it. I think COVID made it to where it showed us that it's okay to not be okay a bit, like in who we are, and to bring our full selves to work, because it used to be very much a combination of, okay, you got to separate your work life from your home life. And then it became, no, these things got to kind of merge together, and you can focus on both. I think COVID actually took it to, we are people first. It's really important to live by my values, by my dreams, and a business or a job allows me to get closer to that. I think it's kind of gone totally 180, where you're not separating your business from your work life. You're not trying to merge these things. Now it's, I have a life and I want to work for a company that will help me become a better version of myself. So I think COVID was a huge factor in that.
I read that book, Daniel Pink's book, about what's important for someone to really connect with the organization. It was autonomy. It's working on something bigger than you, having people that you consider friends in your workplace. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a couple of others, but it's like this time that you're spending away from your family, earning a living, that you still have to receive some sort of fulfillment from.
It is, yeah. You don't just bottle it up like you used to. Like I said, compartmentalize. It's the work days are too long, and so employees are demanding that they do feel fulfilled and that they work for a company that they're proud of, and they have the leverage now to do it like never before. It used to be kind of like, well, I live here in Dallas, so I can only get companies here in Dallas. That's not true. In today's society with technology, you can work for any company anywhere in the world. So it allows you to be a little bit more. You have more leverage as an employee, especially when so many companies are looking for good talent. You have more leverage to ask, what as a company do you stand for? And do I want to be associated with that company? I just read a LinkedIn post. I don't know how real this was, but it was just yesterday, where it got thousands of hits. But this idea was this girl talks about how it was a dream job. I'll paraphrase. It's a dream job. She got the offer. And then she started remembering the people who interviewed her were all one race. She said, huh. And she looked at the company, she started looking at the board of directors, one race. And then she started looking at the advertising, and it felt like it lacked diversity. So she actually went back and said, I love you. I want to work for you guys so bad. But me as a person, I want more diversity. I want to see more diversity. And I don't feel like that's at the company. And I'm so sorry, this is my dream job. She wasn't using it as leverage. She was just basically saying, I'm choosing not to work with you. That's the type of leverage great employees have now, because she knows she's in a marketplace where she's going to be able to get a great job anyways. And so she was willing to forego her dream job, according to this post, because it was a value that she wanted to see more in that culture, more diversity. She didn't see it, so she walked away. That's the type of stuff where you gotta plan for that in today's economy. You just have to.
In sales, when everything logically made sense on why this potential client should come on board and they didn't, it's like, really, at first when you go, my gosh, well, that's crazy. They didn't say yes. I thought they would say yes, but there was an illogical reason at play that I hadn't discovered. And what you just described is one of those things. And it's another thing that HR needs to go, what is the emotional aspect here that I'm missing that needs to be considered or satisfied?
That's right.
So being authentic is one of those that allows you to be yourself and your brand. And this is even more at play now.
I think so. Yeah, I think it's more and more that, is bringing your authenticity. If you're a business owner out there, being authentic and bringing the authenticity into your company creates a greater desire for to work with you, and for employees to work with you. So I always think of it this way. I think that if the closer you are to your real authenticity and you run your business by those values, when you know yourself, I think of it like the way forward. Here's an example I was thinking about yesterday was, so a couple of years ago, I was approached by BlackRock, and BlackRock for a very big assignment. That would have been, easily the largest company I'd ever worked with, BlackRock, a massive, massive company. And we were going up against McKinsey as a consulting company, another consulting company, and they didn't tell us some others, but it was a massive assignment. So I remember, I have a team of 4 at that time, Steve. But they came to us because we're behavioral science experts. And so they didn't know our size. I'm like, we got to compete against these other guys. And so I started trying to figure out not acquisitions, but people I could bring in and everything else. And I remember my business partner, Robert, kind of said, Will, let's focus on what we do and only what we do. Like we are not a tech company. We are not a consulting and management consulting company, but here's what we do very well: behavioral science. And it's this idea of just knowing who you are, knowing what you're good at, helped me actually create a proposal that beat out all but one final company, right? And we didn't get the project, so that's the downside of that. But I was authentic to what I could do, the things that I can't do. And when I got the call, we actually had a half-hour debrief call on why I didn't get it, and it was a very close decision. But one thing that the board who made the decision had said was that it was very clear that 1, you understood behavioral science, 2, that you're very passionate, and 3, that you weren't trying to sell us on anything more than that. And we talked about, they had talked about, that's okay, we'll bring in the right partners, whatever, but this is the value he brings. So I thought this idea, I was very authentic. And because I was authentic, as a person, and when I was pitching that business, that almost allowed me to, basically double my company in one thing, in one desire. So I know as a person, as a business owner, I don't want to be a tech company. That's not who I am. And so I don't try to play in the world of technology and compete on my technological expertise. I don't. I use technology, but I'm not in Silicon Valley. I'm not a tech firm. Same thing is, I know as a person, I don't want to massively scale. So I don't look at, the company and think about, how do I get this company from 1 million to 1 billion or anything else. I don't think that way. I don't think in those terms. I'm very authentic to what I want to do with my life, what I want to do with my company, and your employees should know that. So if you know that your employees and the caliber of people you want to bring in, and you know that they're looking for, the excitement of a fast moving, high tech, high scalable company, you owe it to them to say, that's not who you are. That's not what you're going to be. Again, when you do that, everybody wins out on that, and you get to be authentic to who you are, and you get to bring employees who want that as well.
This talk about being authentic, to be authentic, you have to be comfortable in your shoes, right? And there's a certain life cycle that you as a person is, as a professional or a business, you need to be totally comfortable. That story you told about the BlackRock thing, think of where you were. It's it wasn't like this desperate situation. We got to get the business. It's no, we don't want the business unless. And that comes from an area of confidence and understanding yourself.
Yeah.
And I believe that's what makes it such a differentiator and attractive for a business, an employee to work for you, is when you're in that place that you know what you're good at and you're okay with it.
Yeah. And I think there's a maturity in that too, right? It was year 7 of the business, but year 22 of my career. I think there's a maturity that comes with that. You kind of start knowing yourself, just like in life, right? You start knowing yourself a little bit more and what you want out of life, and then how your business is going to conduct itself as well. So I think there's some of that too. And if you don't have that maturity or that experience, then you got to really understand yourself. You got to dig deep and then hold to those values and that vision that you have.
So, when we talk about culture too, Will, think about this. All right, that one story that you told of the girl that didn't recognize a diversity pattern.
Yep.
As a company, you need to not be desperate either. You need to well, that's totally cool. I mean, we're who we are because.
Agree.
Okay. And even though you didn't see a certain pattern here, maybe it was, we base it on certain aptitudes or certain things. So that's where we are.
Experiences. Yep.
And what are we doing? We're looking for an excellent fit.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, I think that's very true. It's having the courage to not change your company based upon something that you see in the marketplace, or like I said, I think it's that maturity of knowing who you are, what you stand for, and and that comes from a deep authenticity, but then also making sure that your employees and your clients understand and feel that same authenticity. Yeah.
Yeah. And it builds trust with customers and staff.
Yeah, I mean, trust is you and I talk about this all the time. Trust is really hard to build and it's so easy to lose. And it's the classic, if you're authentic, then you can build trust really quickly. And being authentic is showing some of the bad sides of things that happen as well. I always go to this one story. I love this. There's this company that I do work with called MMR Research. They're out of the kind of the Athens, Georgia area, Roswell area. And I met these guys well over 20 years ago when they came to pitch me business. And what the guy did was he came up there and what he said, "Hey, tell me the types of projects you work on." And I thought, oh God, here it comes, right? So, me and some people in the room. So here's the types of projects we do. And what he did was he said, okay, so he listed them out on the board and he said, "We don't do this at all. We don't do this. We're not good at this. We can do this okay, but we're not great at that. But there are 2 out of these 10 that we're really good at." And I remember thinking to myself, this guy built established trust so fast because he was basically telling me, don't use me for these things. And as a small business, you always want to say you're really, in fact, you're incentivized saying, we'll go figure it out. We'll go hustle. We'll go figure it out. This guy said, here are the things that you should not think of us for. Then we hired him. And about, it was a couple of weeks later, we did a massive project with this guy. And it may have been our 3rd project as I think about it. But either way, we were going to go through and talk about this massive piece of research and present it out to over 100 people the next morning. Guy comes into my office. We're supposed to have dinner the night before. The normal thing. You have dinner with the person you're going to present with. The next day, we're going to get this big 3-hour meeting. And he says, we just realized that we transposed all the data. The story that we were telling you and that we were nodding to, it's the exact opposite. There was a data we basically populated the wrong column. And we worked overnight. We had to cancel the meeting. So there were some real repercussions, right? To my career, to his. But the fact that he was so transparent and said, because his story with the bad data made sense. Nobody questioned it. I didn't question it at all. It made total sense. But he still came to me with the night before a major presentation with 100 people in the audience. We can't go out with this. And we had to cancel everything. And because he did that, he held himself accountable. And he was open and transparent that he made a huge mistake. 20 years later, we're still doing business, even though, that was a massive thing. You earn trust, it takes a long time to earn it and you can actually lose it so quickly. That guy, I always see as trustworthy because of that. So it helps you build trust with your customers and staff by just being open, transparent with the work that you have, the things that you could always do better, be open with that stuff. And it builds to where customers will keep using you and your staff will follow you longer.
Wow. It's totally opposite of fake it till you make it.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot more people are saying that you shouldn't be doing that. I mean, but I have one of my grandest stories. I faked it till I made it. Right. So I'm not going to say that's one of my favorite stories in my company was when I faked it for a meeting and then I made it. Right. I out of that meeting, I went and figured out how to do what they were looking for. But that's exactly the right approach. You can lose trust because if you can't really make it, you'll never win that again. All you were doing was lying to your customers. So I tend to not do that anymore. Stick with what I know, stick with what I love. And that way I don't have to fake it. I will make it as long as we have an agreement that I'm good at this and this is what I do. Both sides win in that case.
I'm just thinking while you were talking, we have clients and they expect you to deliver at a certain standard that, you're supposed to bring these deliverables with an A, make an A on those generally, but we're humans. We don't always make an A. So how do you, when you think about, well, how do you set a client up to be understanding when you do fall short? And I think it's by that exercise you just described.
Yeah, it could be. And they give you, just like when they failed on this massive research, and we redid everything, rescheduled it 6 weeks later. And, it wasn't, the whole company didn't collapse or whatever. But I think you're right. I think there's this, especially after COVID, right? Where it's okay that we're not always going to make straight A's. It just is in life. As long as you're open and people, and you're working with people that you love, and we really try hard, Trigger Point, and my company to work with people that we love, then just like in life and in any relationship, some people disappoint you sometimes. But overall, you're looking for a relationship that both are flourishing and love to be in. And so I think you're right. Being transparent, doing the right things as a human being. You and I talk about this a lot. that gives you the ability to make that B- every so often, and you're still going to be fine.
Mm. And it also makes you, as your point here, it makes you relatable and human to staff.
Yep. One of the best things I think I ever did was when I was writing my book, Marketing to Mind States, I had a decision to make. So my book is a science-based book. It's a book that teaches you science behind marketing. The problem is that there are lots of books out there that talk about the science of marketing, Steve, and they do it in a very boring, unrelatable way. And so I remember, and if you know nothing about this show, I tell you all sorts of things. You know my cat, you know my kid, I talk about my failures and things like that. And that's just a bit of who I am. So in the book, I put my own company, my own experiences, the birth of my son into the book to show a bigger point, to communicate a bigger point. My book is, I say it all the time when I send my book out to people, I'm like, you're going to learn stuff about me that you probably don't want to know. Like, you don't want to be in the opera, or, the baby waiting room, like I was, or the delivery room, but you're going to learn about my experience in the delivery room. Right. And so what I like about that, it makes me more relatable. We can all relate to these experiences in life, good and bad, when we've had high successes or low failures. And when you do that authenticity, that makes you more relatable to, just to your staff, being human to your staff. And so that's why I love how, Louis, and he was just over here a little bit, about Louis, my cat, jumps in. Like, we can all relate to the kid who's, knocking on the door when you have a webinar, or, Louis jumping up. I think that's a part of that. Like, my staff knows my family. You know my family. You've been to my house. So I have staff, who live in South Texas. When they come here for meetings, they don't stay in hotels. They stay with me, Steve. Like, I want them to stay with me in my home. Why? Because that's who I am as an individual. But when you now, as my staff, they know my wife, Melanie, they know Nicholas, they know Nicholas is in 6th grade. They understand that, he's the lead actor in a school play. They know that Louis likes to jump up on my lap. Those things are what make people want to work with me. It's not the salary, that I give them. It's not my benefit package. It's that they're part of something. They belong to something, and we're trying to do something pretty powerful and great here.
So would you say you're a scientist?
I think I'm a scientist. Yeah. I would say I'm a scientist. Yeah.
Well, should you be wearing like a white lab coat?
That's actually already taken. There's this guy. He's called the Conversion Doctor. I saw him at a conference one time. That's his gig. So I have my leather jacket, right? He's got his gig. He's got the white jacket. He's I forgot what he did. The Conversion Doctor, I think his name. Whatever. Anyways, he's probably listening. Good guy. I think it's amazing. I think what he's got is doing well. But no, I think I don't think that would work for me. Actually, I don't think that would work nearly as well.
No, I like the dog tags. I like what you're doing. Is like,
these are all artifacts. Yeah.
Very relatable, but you're bringing science to a world that's usually like feely, touchy, right?
Yeah.
That people are wanting to take the science and put it on their marketing, their website, their materials, those things, and you're being relatable.
Yeah, and imagine if I was talking about, well, there are 13 studies that talk about priming, and what Berger says basically was working in Pennsylvania Penn. Like, that is not relatable to somebody who doesn't come from that world. That lab coat is not relatable to somebody who, like you and I wear black t-shirts, right? Because we're in the art world, right? So, but I made a conscious decision to do that. And it's a scary one. You got to have a lot of confidence, because when you start bringing your whole self and you're transparent and you're authentic, well, then if you do it the right way, they're going to see the bad sides as well, the mistakes, the things that you do. So you better be comfortable and confident in yourself, and hopefully you give grace when people disappoint you, and they will give you grace when you disappoint them, just like any other relationship.
And in doing so, this actually helps you stand out from the competition.
It does nowadays. It's not it is not your incentive package. It is not your salary. Those things are critically important, but those are, I think, in today's world, table stakes. You got to be competitive salary wise. You have to have a great benefits package, and then you have to expand past that. The thing when you are authentic is you can't be copied. It's really difficult to be copied if you are authentic human brand. So I don't know if you know this, Steve. My book, Marketing Mindstate, was copied in China. Did I ever tell you this story?
It doesn't surprise me. No.
So I was looking, because every so often you just like look stuff up, right? I like to see Mindstate. I just go on Google. Mm-hmm. And I know, and my book is sold in China. I saw it there. It had some other guys, it had a different cover on it. Marketing in Mind States. I looked at it. It's like been translated, but it's not. I'm not the author. It's another guy. Anything can be copied. Anything can be copied, right? And this, I don't know how many books this dude has sold. I know I'm not selling any in China for sure.
Billions.
But you know what's so funny is he can't go on stage and speak to the birth of my son nearly as well as I can, right? I can do that, right? There's a Reddit author one time. This person I looked up. I don't know how I looked it up, in fact, but this person, he was, just on Reddit, and he wrote an article that took one of my articles on Forbes, and he repurposed pretty much the same idea. Hey, there are 4 factors in every decision making: goals and motivations and regulatory approach and cognitive heuristics. Like, that's a trademark. Like, the Mindstate Marketing model, at least the word Mindstate Marketing model is trademarked. The whole book here has copyright protection, but this guy basically stole the whole thing. Guy or girl, I never could figure it out. So I saw it one time, and I tried to track it down. He's done it a couple other times. He steals work. So you can get mad at that, or you can say, you know what? The fact of the matter is they can steal stuff from you, but he'll never be able to compete for my clients. No way, because he can't speak to the things I can speak to. Why? Because I'm authentic. These are my stories. These are the examples I use all the time are my examples. He'll never be able to copy my passion, my perspective, my experiences to create that emotion that you need to drive people to want to buy from you. And we always talk about emotion, right? Science-based emotion. And those things are not going to be easily copyable. So if you are authentic, you're going to stand out from the competition as long as you maintain that authenticity.
Yeah. I think about, we were having a meeting the other day, and I have a lot of VAs in play. And one thing they said was really shocking to them was like their opinions being asked, asking them for their opinions. And it was like, wow, I never thought of it that way. Of course, I don't work as a VA.
Yeah.
But in their general role, they're just, here's a task, get it done. And here I am, this goofy guy that's authentic, just what you're going to get, right? But I'm asking their opinions, and then they're like, that's a big deal to them.
That is, you started off by saying, you had read Pink's book and the importance of belonging. I mean, that's a psychological thing. It's that we want to be a part of something that's bigger than ourselves. You tapped into that just by being naturally who you are, by saying, and which seems so reasonable. Like, you have an opinion that could actually better me. So should I not just ask? Like, what would you do if you're in my shoes, right? Because everybody brings their own talents. And so, but what's important about what you just did is VAs, my guess, are being hit up all the time around, hey, switch from Steve to me, switch from, whatever. They're probably being hammered with, opportunities, but you did something that money couldn't buy. You asked somebody to weigh in on a business to build something, together better. So it's an important small little thing that you did, but you never know how that's going to impact your company a year from now, 2 years from now, because you're asking people of their opinions who otherwise are marginalized. Maybe like, just here's the 5 tasks, get them done as fast as you can, so I don't have to pay you, right? So there's something powerful in what you did, and that was just by you being authentically wanting to better your company through somebody else's ideas, right? Who wouldn't want that? But I guess there's a lot of people that don't, right?
Yeah. And these concepts that we're talking about are just art in play with wanting to hire A players and build a team. This is in play in a team, little league, working with their parents at, your, what do they call it?
PTA. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, obviously. Wow. So guess what time it is?
I see it. It's question time.
So, excellent question. I mean, excellent conversation. I really love conversations around culture, and I think people think, I have bean bags, or we have time off that you can just take when you need.
You bring your dog to work.
Yeah, but that really doesn't cut it all the way.
It sure doesn't.
All right, so now we've got some questions that you get to dance and answer. So why do situational factors matter in marketing, Will?
Okay, so first off, you should probably describe what are situational factors. Situational factors are things that are outside your marketing that impact its effectiveness. So the ones that I talk about in my book and kind of in my course there are psychological factors, There are social factors like who's around you when you're going to be, interacting with a brand, and then environmental factors, meaning like the actual environment itself. And there's a fourth one that's starting to make its way in, which I may talk about in my next book, which are these kind of life stages. There's these other factors that kind of combine your psychology with who you're with and your environment. Situational factors matter in marketing because your marketing does not exist outside of these three, maybe arguably four factors. They reside within it. So you need to take who somebody's around when they engage with you into consideration with your marketing. You have to take into account the psychological aspects that we talk about in my book into consideration when you're drafting up your marketing and your engagement. You have to take into account where they are going to be and are they under stressful conditions, things like that, when they're interacting with your marketing. So situational factors matter a ton in marketing, because if you base your marketing, you write marketing and you just kind of test it, let's say, for instance, in a focus group or on a survey, and you don't test it in those same situations that people are going to be in when they interact with your marketing, you risk getting a false read on your marketing and it never lands very well. So be very sure that you're taking into account psychology, sociology, or social factors and environmental factors when you're designing your marketing. You're going to be much more effective in it.
Excellent. Buddy, anybody ever tell you, you know your stuff?
I try hard, man. Somebody wrote me an email yesterday, Steve, that said, you probably put in 1 million hours into your book. And I was like, no, I don't think I'm doing that. But I do put a little time into this stuff. That's for sure.
Well, they'll think about it. When that book, although you weren't really whacking away at it on years ago, you were building the fundamentals that became insights in that book. So it could be 1 million. Could be 1 million. You never know. 500,000. Can you explain how jobs to be done relates to Mindstate marketing?
Yeah. So you guys probably know, you're hearing a lot about jobs to be done. So first off, jobs to be done is a concept from Clayton Christensen. He wrote a couple of different books. His last book just before he passed away was a book that was really focused on jobs to be done. A job to be done technically is used for outcome-driven innovation. It's a new way of thinking about innovation, that rather than designing an innovation around a person, you design an innovation around I'm going to do air quotes here, job to be done. So when you focus on, kind of a market that is around a specific job that people are asking to have done or that they're trying to do for themselves, then you can grow your innovation and you can grow your business, right? So it's kind of a different way of thinking about innovation. Now, I look at jobs to be done and I add on to jobs to be done through the first part of my book, which is called goals. So what we're trying to do in jobs to be done is find moments where people are asking for something to be done for them or do something on their behalf. Goals in my book are focused on what goals or jobs to be done do you have in context to a decision. So if you're going to say, if we're going to relate to Mindstate Marketing, think about the first part of Mindstate Marketing, which is focusing on goal activation. That is another name for jobs to be done. So they're kind of used interchangeably in that way.
Excellent. I wouldn't have been able to answer that.
Yep. Well, I had taken that into consideration. I get asked about jobs to be done all the time nowadays. It's a whole new world of marketing, honestly. It used to be for innovation, Steve, but jobs to be done is more and more focused on what is marketing's job to be done to help somebody get from point A to point B. So it's not just thinking about product, but sometimes marketing gets people to take action to better their lives. And that halos to the brand, regardless of whether your product itself helped them get there. It's kind of an interesting concept, but your brand exists outside of what you give them. Tide exists outside of laundry detergent. So it's actually, you have to think about jobs to be done. The brand can help somebody feel an emotion that gets them to take action to better their life outside of the products they sell. So jobs to be done is helping brands get to that space, I think.
I like that term, halos out.
It does.
Do lead magnets really work? Do they still really work, Will?
Steve, I feel like you should be answering this. You probably do more lead magnets than I do. I'll give you my opinion. Then, Steve, I want you to weigh in on this one.
Okay.
Yeah, I think lead magnets work. And if you guys don't know what a lead magnet is, basically it's offering something of value, whether that's maybe the traditional ones or like maybe a PDF document or a book or something of value that you give somebody for free. And all in return, which maybe is not really free, is that they give you an email address, their email address. And then the idea would be they got something of value from you. You have their email address, and now you can integrate them into your emails to where you can add more value. And the idea of the lead magnet was the first thing that kind of brought somebody into your ecosphere, right? So it's not advertising the traditional sense where you're paying somebody to see a commercial. Lead magnets are offering somebody value, and it is in fact valuable. The problem with lead magnets, at least for me, is that the traditional lead magnets that you would expect used to work 5 years ago are becoming more and more difficult to pull off. So, for instance, it used to be okay. You do like a 3 or 4 page PDF. Well, right now there's so much, focus on gaining people's attention that it's a lot of work to read 4 pages, which doesn't seem like a lot of work to me. But in today's world, a 4 page a PDF document is difficult for some people in some markets to take the time to read. So maybe you have to do an ebook. Well, an ebook is really difficult for somebody to go through an ebook. Well, maybe you have to do a video. So what I would say now, if you want to do a lead magnet, it has to be very, very simple, has to be very, very short, and probably video based. And so I've been exploring a lot more like lead magnets. Like, hey, I'm going to give you, a 5-minute video that's going to teach you or train you on one specific topic, and that hopefully doesn't take so much time from people's schedule that they find that valuable. So I think they work. They just have to be shorter and probably video based is where I'm going. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, I like that. Well, here's how I would answer that is like everybody's going, well, should I do PP's, pay-per-click advertising or run Facebook ads or what should I post on Instagram or something? And the thing is, don't post anything, don't run an ad unless you have an offer.
Mm-hmm.
And that offer is a lead magnet, but something to offer a value that someone would like go, hey, I'm glad I clicked on that. And actually, I'm going to risk giving them my email address because I want that. That's an offer. That's why it's valuable. So yes, I say they're imperative. You have to have lead magnets if you want to do these other activities. Otherwise, you're wasting your time.
Yeah, spend a lot of money, a lot of time getting nowhere. So what kind of lead magnets are you using right now, Steve?
Well, we have 30, let's say a lead magnet would be like 30 minutes with me for a free strategy session. That's a
Yep.
live Zoom based. Is not a video, but that would be one thing.
Yep.
I think a comprehensive PDF, we've all downloaded a comprehensive
Mhm.
PDF. Like, I don't want to read it now while I'm online, but I will download it. The whole reason we're doing any of this is because we want to get an email address. That's the whole reason we have a website,
Mhm.
that we do we do a live stream, we do a video, we do a podcast. The whole reason is because we want to have something to show. And what's our goal of the day? It's data, and data comes from insights we get interacting with people, and
Mhm.
collecting an email address is a great way to follow up too. So
Yep. Yeah. And I think one thing that is always important, I struggled with this. Like, why do I want people's email address? And I remember saying that a decade ago, people kind of smiling and laughing. It's not so that I can spam you and try, what it is, it's to provide you value. Like I have value that I can provide companies just like you do, right? And the idea is that if you give me an email address, I can introduce you to more value than just this one little document. Now you may choose not to ever use that. Okay, great. We're not a good partner, right? We're not meant for each other. But the idea for the email address, and I struggled with this. Like, why do you want people's email address? It's so that I know this sounds stupid, but I didn't pick this up. It's so that these people can learn more about you, feel more trusted with you, and then eventually, when they have a need, they're like, you know what? I could really use some Mindstate marketing help. That's why we do this show, right? That's ultimately
mhm.
why we do it. It's that when somebody has a need, they'll think of me and they'll think of us, and therefore we can maybe better their life in some way.
Yeah, that's a great point. That I always go when they ask about that email questions, like, why do I want your emails? Was like, have you been to a conference? Have you gone to a trade show? What did you carry? A business card. What did you ask for? Someone's business card. Well, why did you want the business card? Just to throw it away later or leave it in a
Yeah,
Tupperware container in your car? No, to put it in my database and to follow up with them to hopefully create a relationship, hopefully a business relationship with them,
mhm,
right?
that's right.
That's the whole reason we do this lead magnet, the offers, the conversations.
That's right. That's right.
Another excellent conversation with Will Leach. He's the
Okay.
author of Marketing to Mind States. If you don't have that book, I'm telling you, your message is a one size fits all. If you're in marketing and you're creating messaging, generally our messaging is a one size fits all. And guess what? If you had a clothing shop and you only sold one size, would that be a good idea?
Not a very good idea, everybody. Wouldn't be
Then
good.
why do we do it in our marketing? Get marketing to mind states and figure out how to really dial in your messaging to connect better with people's states of mind. So here comes the feeding the ducks. Can you hear it?
Oh, I can hear it.
We're walking. You guys imagine we're walking along the lake. We got a bag of bread, Wonder Bread. We're throwing it out there. We're feeding the ducks. We're throwing them Will's wit and wisdom.
I'll go with it, man. If you want to keep going down the path, let's go.
All right. So here we go. Did you guys know? You've been listening to this. Wanted everyone to know, where's that banner? I'm looking for it. I'm going to play it here. Will you sing while I look for this thing?
All right. I'm nodding. Guys, we are on. There you go. Podcast.
Subscribe and listen. All the places that you love to listen to podcasts. And also, Will's got a YouTube channel. For those that want to watch, subscribe. It's the Mindstate channel on YouTube. We'll be back next week, every Thursdays at the same time. We'll be hanging out with Will, learning all sorts of stuff that Will's got to bring us, help improve our culture, our customer relationships, our messaging, all that on the Mindstate Marketing Hour. Will, stay warm.
I will.
Did you sleep in that jacket because it was so cold last night?
I didn't have to do that, but I do have another jacket that I will put on after this one. This one looks good, but it's not very warm, so I will be moving off this jacket. But hey, you drive safe on the way home, okay?
All right, you guys be good.
All right, take care, everybody.